Hey, what's up guys? Alright, I'm coming at you with a Frog Monarch deck for the April 1st format. So far it's pretty good, pretty consistent. Played against a lot of different decks so far in play testing, and it's turned out to be pretty competitive. Nobody expects it, which is one reason why it's really good. So without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. So for the main deck, you got your staple 3 swap frogs. If you don't know what he does, so when he's summoned, you can send 1 level 2 or lower water monster from your deck to the graveyard, and then once per turn you can return him to your hand to normal summon a different frog monster. But mainly you don't really use that effect. You use it for loops, so combos with like Caius and Raiza. If you have one on the field and it's still alive after a turn, you can, if you have another water monster in hand like treeborn frog or ronintodin or dupe frog, you discard special summon swap frog, dump another frog, bounce Raiza or Caius back to your hand, and then you can retribute it. So that combos really well. So yeah, 3 swap frogs. Next up, 3 dupe frogs. Probably my favorite frog in the deck because you can get people in the dupe block when you have 2 on the field, which is basically my favorite thing to do. It's just a very, in my opinion, it's a very trolly card, and it's very good because it's a searcher. When it gets destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 frog monster to your hand. So basically you search out swap frog. That's the only other target. I was running flip-flop frog, but it's just not, it's not, I don't want to say it's not consistent enough because it is a good card, but it's just, in this build, it's not needed. So yeah, 3 dupe frogs. And the 2k defense is also really good. The 2 treeborn frogs, basically the whole point of the deck. The whole goal is to just dump treeborn first turn and then start your tributing train and just go from there. It's also really good because he comes back every turn, so you can econ him you can econ him in the standby phase, and he comes back. So you can also overlay with him into level 1s and do other shenanigans. Next up, you got 2 ronintodins. Basically just 2k wall, special summon from the graveyard, make gotchis, summon bigger monsters like lad and obelisk. So yeah, that's why ronintodin's in there. I use 2 because I always find it's better to dump 2 and be able to special summon both in case you don't have swap. So you can summon both and stall, or you can overlay into gotchi and stall, depending on the deck you're playing. So if it's not, so if it's a deck that can banish easily, like BLS or Chaos Sorcerer, then you obviously don't really want to go into gotchi because it'll just get banished. So you could sit on 2, block 2 attacks or 2 banishes, and it's pretty good. Starting off the tribute lineup, you have 3 Caius. Just banishes a card when he's dropped, and then inflict 1,000 if it's dark. 3 Raiza, probably the MVP of the deck currently. Spinning a card back to your opponent's top of the deck is basically, I think it's pretty devastating so far, because if you, say you, well, when I was playing Ritual Beast, a Ritual Beast player, a few times I'd summon Raiza, and this was late into the game where he used up all his steeds and he didn't really have that many resources left. So I top decked his back row, and they ended up just being bluffs. So being able to spin him back with whatever bluff card he put basically makes you win the game. Especially with swap frog, you can just abuse Raiza and keep spinning your opponent back. So that's why Raiza is basically one of the best cards in the deck, probably the best currently. Dark Dust Spirit, this card's too good. Nobody even remembers what it does half the time. But yeah, when he's summoned, you destroy all of their monsters on the field, and he's a spirit monster, so he comes back to your hand during the end phase. So basically, they either have to waste a pretty good trap card on him, or I mean, not pretty good, basically just a stable trap card. But yeah, so he's just a nuke, very good in the game. Then I'm running 1 obelisk. really debatable about putting him to 2 because I never see him, and the thing is I can get 3 monsters on the field to tribute so easily in this deck, and basically in the current format, if you summon obelisk, he's not as good as he once was, but he's still very good because Mirror Force is at 3, Dark Hole's at 3, Dark Hole's at 2, Raigeki's at 1. So I mean, there's definitely ways to get rid of him. But I mean, obelisk is obelisk. He's a 4K beater, and you can tribute a monster, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. So I mean, he's always a very good card. There's definitely more outs to him, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't play him. One lad. This card's not as good in the current format. First turn lad, obviously, that's always good. It definitely stops necros. But I mean, there's so many looping effects and just so many effects in general that can make this card just go all the way down, and then you have to destroy all the monsters you control currently too when he's destroyed. So I mean, he's good, but he's good depending on the condition. That's my opinion on him. He's definitely a good card, but I don't think I'd run more than one. Not right now. And then for the hand traps, you run the 3 faders. This card's so good. Definitely, like, just I don't know. I want to say he wins games, but he doesn't. He just stalls games. But the thing is, he's so good because you end the battle phase. So it's great because your opponent almost all the time overextends. Like in Ritual Beasts, he'll summon like 2 Apelios, and then he might have had a Conahawk on the field, and then when he attacks, I go Fader. And then he usually doesn't use the Steeds, and I can just deal with it next turn because I still get my Monarch's effect when he drops. But the thing is, a lot of times, by the time I start dropping my Battle Faders, all his Steeds are gone because he wastes his Steeds popping my Monarchs and things like that. I also played Ultimate Athletes. I mean, I think they're very subpar currently. They're not that great, but that's because they only have the midfielder that they can summon. But then for the last 3 hand traps, the most broken card basically is Gorz. This card is retarded. Doesn't make any sense why they put this card at 3. So good in this deck because you run 0 back row and you never... He's always droppable in your hand. Always. Almost always. I say almost always because if you have a Monarch on board... And no, he's always droppable because if they get rid of the Monarch, you have an open field. You only control monsters in this deck. So Gorz is always available. He's honestly amazing because you summon him, you get the token. He's a 27k beater, or 2700 beater, and he's hard to get over right now. They just have to waste resources basically. For spells, you have 2 mystical space typhoons. Debatable about main decking the 3rd, but a lot of decks don't run as much back row. I think this format they will. But Mirror Force is kind of turning out to be one of the main cards, mainly because they kill Yosenju. And a lot of Yosenju players are starting to side or play My Body as a Shield, which is quite smart. But yeah, so I might up this to 3. Then you have 3 Potted Duality. Definitely ups the consistency. I don't like Upstart Goblin because... I don't like giving my opponent 1,000 points. Plus, it's just, I mean, I don't feel like it's that useful of a card. Yeah, you're running a 37 card deck for consistency, but I mean, there's other cards that can be just as useful. You know, you don't need to cut your deck down to 37 cards. But yeah, this deck basically doesn't special summon really besides treeborn. So if you get this first turn, it's always live, and that's why it's good. Then you have the 3 econs. Too good. Honestly, they're just too good in this deck. 2 Soul Exchange. I was running 3, but I just kind of... Yeah, it's not needed. You don't run as many tributes now. So, there's also the Stormforth of the Monarch. I think. I'm just not using that card because I'm using Soul Exchange. Yeah, I'm not saying that's not a good card. That card is actually better than Soul Exchange, but I currently don't really have any, so I mean, I don't mind just playing these. Then 3 creature swap. Oh my god, this card is busted in this deck. So many times I'll have an econ and a creature swap. So I'll go econ, take one of their monsters, usually the smaller one, and then their bigger monster I'll special summon treeborn back in attack mode, and then I'll creature swap it, take their big monster, and then I usually win the game at that point. But yeah, creature swap, really just too good. Trading treeborn frog for huge monsters just isn't fair, and you can run 3 of them, so it's very good. And then double dark hole. Not running Raigeki because I don't have one. If I did, I'd definitely run it. But right now, 2 dark hole is definitely good. No idea why people don't main 2 dark hole and Raigeki. They're nukes for your opponent. And in my opinion, dark hole is always live. I don't get why people don't like it. True, it destroys all your monsters, but half the time when you use dark hole, you wait for your opponent to build up a field, and then you just nuke them. So usually, you may have like 1 monster on board, but I mean, more often than not, this card's gonna make you plus. So that's how I feel about it. For the extra deck, don't really go into it all that often. Besides Gachi, it's probably the most important card in the extra deck. That's why my extra deck is only 6 cards currently, mainly because I don't really play any other cards, and I don't have a Photon Strike Bouncer. I'm just too lazy to trade for one. I'll probably get one sometime. But Formula, mainly for the side deck, I have Veilers in there. Slacker Magician for stalling. That's basically its main purpose. 3 Gachis. I always go into Gachi almost every game, and then also he's good if you have Lad on the field and you get out Gachi and then you summon Lad. It ups Lad's attack and Lad doesn't negate, so Lad gets an extra negate. Yeah, because that'll be at 3200, I believe. And then Force Focus. It's a good card. It's Photon Strike Bouncer is better, but I mean, this definitely is a bad card. If I could pick from any cards to choose from in this extra deck, I would still keep Force Focus. I would add a Photon Strike Bouncer, but I'd keep Force Focus. Probably also add an M7. Then for the side deck, 2 Effect Veilers. This card's slowly getting really good again. 2 Maxi. Maxi's pretty much always been good. 1 Thunder King Raya, because Satellar Knights are quite a problem, and if you open with Thunder King, it's good. I mean, your chances of opening with him aren't that great since he's at 1, but he stops a lot of decks. He's like a walking mistake, and you can tribute him. 1 Kaiku, because a lot of I don't know if you guys have been seeing it, but a lot of people are playing what's the deck? They're playing Secret Village of the Spellcasters, and a lot of times when they play that card, I don't really have any outlets because I can't play spells. So if I side Kaiku, if I just find him sometime in the game and then I'm able to summon him, then I can start doing some combos. But yeah, a lot of Shadal players have been meaning the Secret Village because all the Shadals are spellcasters, which I didn't really realize, except Construct and Shekinaga, and then maybe a couple other ones. But all the main engine of it, they're all spellcasters. And then 2 Jinzo, just because I don't like trap cards, and I think Jinzo's a very good card. And if I run into any decks with a lot of traps, I just have an out to it. 1 End of Anubis is a good card against Mermails. Aside from that, just any deck that kind of revolves around the graveyard. I'm not sure if it negates. I haven't read it in a while. 1 second. Yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say it works against Infernoids, but it doesn't. I don't think, because Infernoids activate in the hand, if I'm not mistaken, and then you special summon them. But yeah, Vanity's Fiend. Probably if I had the money to drop, I'd probably buy Majesty's Fiends. But Vanity's Fiend is fine. I might actually just main deck him because he's always a pretty good card. The third MST, and then 2 Twister because this deck loses to D-Fisher and Macro, and Chain Disappear and many other cards, but I mean those were the main ones I was thinking of. 1 Nobleman of Extermination actually. It's an older card, but it's quite good. It basically you target a face down spell or trap and you remove it from play, and if it's a trap card, then both your opponents, or both you and your opponent, remove all copies of it from the deck. And this deck doesn't run traps, so I mean it's usually always good unless they chain the card. And then 1 Soul Release for anything that relies around the graveyard. And yeah, so that was the deck profile, guys. Tell me what you guys think about it. Currently, the deck has been performing quite well. Out of the 4 or 5 games I played this weekend, maybe like 6 games, I won all of them. I actually didn't lose. The Ultimate Athlete player, I beat him, but I wanted to see what his deck could do, so I told him to just draw until he drew midfielder and then show me the combos. So that's what happened there. But yeah. So yeah, tell me what you guys think, what the deck can be, what can be improved upon, and yeah, guys, I'm out.